Macron has offered a new vision for Europe over Taiwan. Macron, who was on a 3-day visit to China last week, said that Europe should have a policy on Taiwan which is independent of both the United States and China's views.
But the French president has come under fire. Emmanuel Macron has said that Europe should avoid being caught up in such conflicts. Speaking to the news site Political, the French leader said Europe should avoid getting dragged into a confrontation between Washington and Beijing.
The recent controversy surrounding French President Emmanuel Macron and his comments on Taiwan. Macron has been accused of playing into Xi's hands by making statements that could potentially damage Taiwan's international standing. It all started when Macron spoke at a French university last week and said, "The status of Taiwan is a matter of Chinese sovereignty." His comments were seen as a departure from France's previous stance on the issue, which recognized Taiwan as a sovereign state. The comments were met with widespread criticism, especially from Taiwan and its allies, who see the island as an independent nation. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu called Macron's statement regrettable and accused him of ignoring the reality of Taiwan's democracy. On the other hand, China's President Xi Jinping welcomed Macron's comments, calling them a positive signal for China-France relations. Some experts have even accused Macron of playing into Xi's hands by making statements that could potentially undermine Taiwan's international standing. Before we continue, if you're new here, please subscribe and join our community. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know about our latest videos on geopolitics, economics, and finance trends. And if you find this video informative and insightful, please give it a like. Likes help our channel reach a wider audience, which means more people can benefit from our content. Thank you for your support. Now let's dive in the topic. According to Professor Jean-Pierre Cabestan from Hong Kong Baptist University, Macron has made a big mistake by downgrading Taiwan's status to a mere domestic matter of China. It could undermine Taiwan's ability to seek international recognition and send a message to other countries that it's okay to do the same. In response to Macron's comments, Taiwan saw widespread protests, with thousands taking to the streets to voice their anger. Many protesters carried signs that read Taiwan is not a part of China and France supports dictatorship. Macron's comments have also drawn criticism from other parts of the international community. The United States, for instance, reiterated its support for Taiwan and called on France to do the same. The controversy has even spilled over into the diplomatic realm. Several Taiwanese diplomats were reportedly expelled from a reception hosted by the French embassy in Washington, D.C. last week. Only time will tell how this will play out in the diplomatic arena, but we'll be sure to keep you updated. As expected, Macron's comments drew criticism from China, which considers Taiwan to be a part of its territory and sees any interference in its internal affairs as a violation of its sovereignty. The Chinese embassy in Paris issued a statement saying that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. The One China principle is the universal consensus of the international community and the political foundation for China-France relations. The statement went on to criticize Macron for playing into Xi's hands and seriously violating China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Macron's comments have also faced criticism from within France. French lawmakers from across the political spectrum have accused him of making a diplomatic blunder and undermining French interests in Asia. Some have called for him to retract his comments or clarify his stance on Taiwan. The controversy surrounding Macron's comments highlights the delicate balance that countries must strike when dealing with China. On the one hand, China is an important economic partner and a rising power in the global political order. On the other hand, it is also a country with a poor human rights record and a tendency to use economic leverage to influence other countries' foreign policies. In the case of Taiwan, the situation is particularly sensitive. China views Taiwan as a renegade province and has vowed to use force if necessary to reunite it with the mainland. The United States and other Western powers, on the other hand, have been supportive of Taiwan's democratic government and have supplied it with weapons to deter Chinese aggression. In this context, Macron's comments can be seen as a small but significant shift in the international community's stance on Taiwan. By openly expressing his support for Taiwan's participation in international organizations, Macron has signaled that France is willing to challenge China's hardline stance on Taiwan and support its democratic government. However, the backlash to Macron's comments also demonstrates the risks involved in taking a firm stance on Taiwan. China is a powerful country with a growing economy and a global reach, and it has shown in the past that it is willing to use economic sanctions and other measures to punish countries that challenge its authority on Taiwan. International reactions. Firstly, Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs expressed disappointment at Macron's statement, stating that the international community should together protect shared universal values rather than be influenced or manipulated by an authoritarian regime. This is a sentiment shared by many human rights advocates who believe that economic interests should not take precedence over human rights issues. Secondly, several European politicians have criticized Macron's stance, including Guy Verhofstadt, a former Belgian prime minister who tweeted, "Disappointing to hear Emmanuel Macron suggesting that Taiwan is a bargaining chip to be exchanged for economic concessions from China. It's time to stand up for our democratic values, support our allies in Taiwan." Similarly, Czech Senator Pavel Fischer tweeted, "No, Mr. President, it is not for the EU to make a deal with China on behalf of Taiwan. It is for us to protect democracy and human rights." Thirdly, some experts have pointed out the potential consequences of Macron's statement, particularly in the context of EU-China relations. According to Janka Owertel, director of the Asia program at the European Council on Foreign Relations, Macron's comments on Taiwan and China reveal a strategic misunderstanding of EU-China relations. Europe has no bargaining chips with China, but is instead facing the challenge of developing a strategy to cope with China's assertiveness. China's response. Finally, let's take a look at China's response to Macron's statement. Unsurprisingly, Chinese officials have praised Macron's remarks, with Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying saying China highly appreciates President Macron's remarks on the Taiwan question. China stands ready to work with France to continuously promote the sound and steady development of China, France, and China-EU relations. Analysis. So, what can we conclude from all of this? Firstly, it's clear that Macron's statement has caused a lot of controversy and has been met with criticism from many sides. Secondly, it highlights the tension between economic interests and human rights issues when it comes to dealing with China. Finally, it underscores the importance of a nuanced and strategic approach to EU-China relations, which takes into account the complexity of the situation. Overall, Macron's comments on Taiwan represent a nuanced and complex issue in international relations. As countries around the world navigate their relationships with China, they must weigh the benefits of economic cooperation against the costs of compromising their values and principles. The controversy surrounding Macron's remarks underscores the challenges that arise when countries attempt to balance these competing interests. The political maneuvering and tensions between world leaders are always fascinating to observe. We will continue to follow the developments of this story and provide updates as they arise. That's all for today's video. Before we conclude, we would like to ask for your support. If you found this video informative and insightful, please give it a like. Likes help our channel reach a wider audience, which means more people can benefit from our content. And if you haven't already, we invite you to subscribe and join our community. Thank you for watching.